Everyone, and today we'll be covering the online software. So if you're a CrossLink online user, we're going to be going over the following topics today. An overview of the dashboard, for how to provide an estimation of a refund, so how to do a quick estimation without even starting a full tax return. But when we do get into a tax return, the main topics I'll cover is, of course, how to add forms, depreciation, our due diligence forms, and a complete flow between verifying and transmitting a tax return. And then at the end of everything, we'll be showcasing the extra features that we have, which are remote signature, how to request documents from your taxpayers, and also utilizing the TaxPass app site. So we have a lot to cover today. So let's get started. And most of today's presentation will be actually within the application itself of CrossLink Online. So as you see here, I'm already logged into the platform, but I'm going to go ahead and showcase the dashboard first. So the dashboard is basically the home page when you do come into the online software. You have three main areas to pay of an interest here. The first area is called the side navigation, and this is where you have different topics or different sections of the software. So this is where you can toggle in to see preparers that are working in your office, tax returns, which is where you will see the total client lookup list, all your returns within your office. And then items like printing of checks, if you do print checks within our software. Reporting, so we have quick reports, available to you. So this here on the side nav is, again, where we access these different features throughout the software. And just to make a note, since we're getting ready for season, office settings is on the bottom left-hand corner. And this is where you add in your preparers, your billing setup, and logins. So just throwing that out there, because I know those are things that we're all trying to conquer today. From your side navigation, we have the top toolbar area. So you'll see this toolbar where I'm hovering my mouse will grow, especially when we get into our tax return. But for right now, when we're on our dashboard page, you'll have a search feature. So I can quickly look up a return here and see what, taxpayers returns I've already started, and I can easily filter to that return. So that is a great search feature during season when you have hundreds of returns in there and you're quickly wanting to get to one. And then we also have a help button at the top left. Help is where you can see quick and resourceful links such as remote support. So if you do use our technical support team here, we do have that screen share link right here within the software, so you can have that up and ready to go. We have a knowledge base and then other useful IRS related links here. So again, that help button within the dashboard has those different tools for you. And then we have the profile menu, and that is clicking on your name, which is on the top right corner. The profile menu will showcase things like the TaxPass URL, which I will reference towards the end, where you have your tax years. So being able to switch into tax years, prior years, right? So we click on that and you'll see the prior years loaded for you here. Clicking back on our profile menu, we have training mode. So I just want to shout that out, as you're training your preparers, getting them ready for season, let's make sure we're doing our returns in training mode. So this way that data is not counting towards your live data for season. So go ahead and toggle into that training mode and do your practice returns there. And then we have signatures. So if you are an ERO, you want to make sure you complete your ERO signature so that is populating on the returns and you don't have to worry about that throughout season. And preparers. Let's go ahead and click on your profile menu and complete that preparer signature located right here. So this way, again, you're not signing multiple returns all throughout season. Once you populate your signature, it will auto-populate for every single return. And again, those additional features can be found right here by clicking on the profile menu. Okay. If you're looking at the dashboard, right here is your home page. These are called widgets. This is our modern view of how we present the data of your office here. So we're still here at CrossLink wanting to let you know what is going on with your office by a quick glance onto your dashboard. So the widgets will show you different data. So the first widget shows me my returns that I can go ahead and see in the different stages when they're at IRS, rejected, or refused. So you'll see those values go up. You'll see this widget here, you can definitely tailor to, a specific category you would like to look at, or it would tell you if you have any preparers that are not transmitting to the IRS, but they submit for review. It will go ahead and showcase here how many returns you need to go ahead and review. So right here is where you will go ahead and take a look at that. The notifications widget will come over from your secure messages, which is also on the left-hand side here. It will showcase any incoming messages that you have. And again, secure messages is sending an internal message to a preparer, and you can message them back and forth throughout the software. So it's just communication. You can write meeting at 2, please bring papers. So you could go ahead and click send, and then that will message Jack when he logs into the software that he has a message to go ahead and read. So the notification widget will show you your latest messages as well. When you see the widget here that are fees collect, that will show you an estimation of the fees being collected in your office. So again, the widgets show you that quick data. And you do scroll down, you'll see a look of your recently viewed preparers. So these are all the preparers I have within my office, and I can see what their return count is, and if any of those preparers have any rejected returns, because we always want to make sure we're clearing out those rejects, or maybe drawing that to their attention. Hey, Jack, you need to go ahead and fix this return, and you can do so. So this is the dashboard here, showing you everything to just take a quick glance at your office statistics. So as we go in and we want to start tax returns, we have 2 main methods you can start a return from the dashboard page. The first method I do want to showcase was that estimation. Somebody comes into your office and you want to go ahead and get an estimate of that return. By doing so, I clicked on Refund Calculator, which is a button on that side navigation, and now I can quickly go through a guided approach of this taxpayer's data. So I can go ahead and say they're single, they have some kids, they own a home. Now I'm going to choose what type of filing status specifically. And I'll just enter in data. And if you notice, it didn't make me enter in their social or their, I'm just calculating their birth date. I'm not gathering the taxpayer's dependents information either. I'm just entering in how many children they have. So I'm just marking it in the correct categories. And then you can say, okay, what type of income do you have? I can go ahead and say they do have a self-employment, and I can say, they just started that out and they made $1,500 this year. I could also say they have a W-2 job and put in some income that way. So what this is doing is it is calculating an estimated refund amount at the top left, but it can also will be able to pick and choose their boxes. So the more accurate data they give you, you can continue choosing those options. Or if they just want to give you the basics, you can do that as well. So you could go ahead and say, okay, any home costs, any mortgage paid. If not, you uncheck the box. And at CrossLink, we really say only mark the boxes that you have. So the only ones that are applicable. You don't have to choose no's or anything like that. So at the end here, just quickly going through that, you can see we do come to a results page, right? A breakdown of their tax summary information. But at the very end, you see the button here where it says create return. Now I can go ahead and formally create that tax return by putting in a social. Once I do so, it will go ahead and enter in their forms that I generated from here. Sorry if I can type correctly today. Go ahead and hit create regular return. I'm going to hit new return. And then I'm going to go ahead and start that tax return. So now it is loading a formal return for me to go ahead and complete. Did have just a basic data there, but you can take a look on the left-hand side. It added that W-2, it added the Schedule C, added the 2441, which is a child daycare I put in, and then my due diligence, right? So that went ahead and populated those forms. So that was just a quick view of how to provide a quick estimate to your taxpayer and also convert it to a tax return. So now let's see what it looks like when we start a formal return. When we want to start a return, we're going to go to the Tax Returns tab on the left-hand side. We're going to click on New Return. Again, we're going to put in a social. Hit Create Regular Return. And you see I do have that W-7 button there. So if you do any ITINs or have any taxpayers, you know, that don't have a social, you can generate an ITIN return just by clicking W-7. So when CrossLink opens up to our tax return, we do open up to a forms-based approach. So here we have our client data screen, and our client data screen is on our active window here. This is the current form that we are working on. And you can see this is the bulk of your taxpayer's data as I quickly scroll through. Okay, anywhere from filing status to spouse information, address, bank account, referral, you know, if you want to keep track of those marketing strategies, and then dependent information. So we're going to quickly go ahead and fill out some information here and see how we go throughout the fields. And we're going to go ahead and click through. I use tab and enter as I go through my fields here. If you want to definitely showcase having paperless features throughout our software, such as sending text messages to your clients or sending an email of their final documents, you can go ahead and fill out the information as I'm doing here, and you will be able to send an email and text message your clients. To do so, we're going to go ahead and click the box. That's going to come up with an agreement. Does your taxpayer approve that they're sending text messages to them? You'll click agree. And then we want to select the carrier. We do have databases within our software. So a database, as you see, I can click Alt-C on my keyboard, or I can click three dots and go to choices. And I can go ahead and search for their carrier. It does need to be the taxpayer's carrier. And you'll select it, and it will now populate that. So anytime you do see this field open up, go ahead and utilize the database here and populate that information quickly and swiftly. As you are looking throughout the return, you may ask, well, when I go to filing status, what do I need to enter here? You can open up this info tooltip, which is the blue and white icon here, and it has the field description laid out for you right here. I see the different filing status options and the number that correlates with it. So I can go ahead and enter a 4 for head of household. And then when I go through, it skips my spouse information and it brings me right here to the address for the taxpayer. Okay, want to go ahead and enter in a city and state. I'll go ahead and fill that out. And we'll scroll through. Okay, bank account information, again, can click the three dots, go to choices, and you can go ahead and fill that information out and put in their account number. Okay, so I have double entry validation turned on, so it's just verifying that account number is true to what I typed in there. Go ahead and mark checking, and then I'm scrolling through. So you can see here, the client data is just all that taxpayer's information. So the more accurate or the more fields you do fill out, how this information will go ahead and pull forward onto your primary and secondary forms. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out a dependent here. In relationship to the dependent and the taxpayer, I'm going to go ahead and put in daughter, go ahead and choose it off my menu. Months lived with taxpayer, put 12 months for the whole year. And it automatically populated my EIC codes. So the dependent code, my EIC code, right? Child tax credit code. So those options will auto-populate based on the age, if they're applicable. But if you ever want to take a look at them, you can just by clicking the three dots. You can also take a note. If I wanted to auto add the 2441 form, I can go ahead and double click and I can add that form. If it's not needed, you don't have to fill out the field. Okay, so now I added in my dependent here and I filled in my client's information. So once you enter in all that data, your next step is to go ahead and fill out your primary and secondary forms. And what I mean by those are the forms that the taxpayer is going to provide you and saying, okay, well, how did you make income this year? Do you have any deductions? So where we locate that add forms is going to be right here at the bottom. On the bottom left, you'll click that button, add form. This is where you can now search for all the federal forms that we have listed here. You can use this keyword search here. I can start typing in a schedule and it's going to come up for me. If you maybe don't know their form numbers or names, you can use the index tab and you can definitely start typing a word and you can filter to that specific. So I start typing in tuition and it's bringing up any forms that correlate with that name or that word. So again, those are the two ways you can search for the federal forms. If you're interested in adding a state to your return, you can click on the state tab and you can click on the package and then you can choose your state and you will add in the states. Okay. And just to throw it out there, it's a popular question. States release all at different times. So you can definitely work on a state return and then once it's released, it will update to not be the draft view. So those states are available to take a look at right now. Going back and clicking on federal, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a W-2 just by clicking add. And you can see it adds just like the paper form, but on the left-hand side, again, always looking at like the side part of our tax return, this is called your attached forms panel. This here under the federal section is going to show you all the federal forms or state forms that will be added to the tax return. Our tax return here at CrossLink software will always populate with the 1040 and the 8879. Once I've added in some data, like I added in that I was head of household and I had a child, so I already see my prepare due diligence form automatically populated. So those are one of those topics we were going to talk about. Due diligence forms will auto-populate based on the data that you enter. And the schedules will populate as well. So schedules 1, 2, 3, you can see the 8812, the child tax credit, automatically populated. So you can take a look there. But I just want to also put that disclaimer. It doesn't mean that it knew to populate a W-2 or the Schedule C, right? We have to get that data from your taxpayer. So going through my W-2, I'm going to click on choices. The software will automatically add EIN numbers for you. So when you go ahead and you enter in an EIN number for the first time, it will automatically save it so you can reuse it if you get another taxpayer from that same company. So again, anytime you see those three dots. So let me go ahead and put in some wages. And you can see my calculations on the left-hand side, very seamless, didn't have to click save or a refresh button. It happened right away and it's showing I'm getting a positive refund about $3,800. So we can go ahead and see that. And if your W-2 has any of the employer use codes or retirement codes, again, we have all of that data for you to go ahead and choose the different codes, and you would just choose the one that's applicable or shown on the W-2, and then put in the numeric value. Okay, so we will auto-populate those databases for anything that's federal or for state codes that you need to have. Moving on from our W-2, I'm going to go ahead and add a Schedule C and show some quick depreciation here. So these are popular forms that we all go through. We'll add in the Schedule C and click Add. Okay, what type of business I'm going to do? I'm going to do like an Uber driver. So I'm just going to say, just put driving. Okay, business codes. So again, this is something I can use my choices for. And I can start typing in taxi and see if what comes in. And ride sharing does fall under the taxi limousine business code. So I can go ahead and select, and it populates for me. And I could just put Jack's Driving for my business name, right? And then you would go ahead and you would fill in the fields here. Okay, income, how much did they make? And then expenses. So we have all the line items just right here for you. If there is any advertising, you need to just fill it in right here. Supplies, right? So that's a popular one. Okay, so you would go ahead and fill in the fields that are applicable and what the data receipts, right, they provided. But especially if I'm doing an Uber driver, the most popular thing is to add in an asset of their car and truck. So to do so, I would see that on my left-hand side, I do have a depreciation button. I can go ahead and click on depreciation, and now it opened up a table for me. I can see I have car, truck, which is a vehicle allocation, or if I wanted to see or specifically tie an asset to my Schedule C, I can do that as well. So just a little tip here, rule of thumb, I definitely advise adding in the different schedules first before depreciating any assets, because this way you can, when I click add asset, you can see I can actually choose which asset I want to tie the schedule to. So you can definitely do that linkage right there. So definitely let's add those those schedules first. Okay, so I'm going to choose my car and truck. I'm going to go ahead and say what kind of car I purchased, date placed in service, right? So I'm just going to keep it simple today. And then what type of vehicle? So I'm going to go ahead and choose. And then we're going to put in how much the car originally cost. Okay, you're going to now answer questions down at the bottom. So if it was used for personal use, vehicle used more than 5% from the owner. Is another vehicle available for personal use? Yes, no, right? These are questions you're going to ask your taxpayer. Do you own the vehicle? And I'm just double clicking, or you can type the X to mark the box, and then force actual expense or force mileage rate. You can choose which one by clicking yes or no to each, which one you want to force. But if you don't want to force one and let the software choose which one is the best one, then you mark no for both, and it will go through that. Okay, now I'm going to click on mileage and expenses. I'm going to enter in the mileage. So I'm going to go ahead and just put in 10,000 miles. What was my total commute mileage? Average daily commute. Okay, but how much did I use for that schedule now? So that was my schedule C for Ubering. So I'm going to say, okay, this was my total mileage. Okay. And then we're going to say you have some car expenses at the bottom. So how much did you spend on gas, oil, repairs, anything like that? And you can just go ahead and fill in the values. Okay. Due diligence questions at the bottom. Do you have evidence to support this deduction? Is it written as evidence? Go ahead and mark those. So I'm going to go ahead and hit close now. Click OK. And now if we take a look back on our Schedule C, just by clicking on the left-hand side here, I can now go ahead and line 13 here now has our depreciated value. Okay, so that carried forward. And so did my car and truck expenses. Okay, so that all entered in from our asset table. Okay, so depreciating an asset, again, all by clicking on the button here and just choosing the asset that you want to depreciate and putting in the values there. So very easy. I think it is so simple in our software just by clicking on that and clicking add asset. Okay, as we go through, we went through our forms, right? So I showcased our forms base. We added in our client data. We filled out all of our taxpayers information. I showed the add form button, which is where you add in those federal forms or your state forms. And then after you add in all your taxpayers data, now it starts cleaning some stuff up here. So as we take a look here, our forms did grow. I did mention the program will automatically add forms, right? So I added in my EIC checklist. It added in the 4562, which is the driving form. So all those things were added in here. And when you want to take a look, okay, what's next? You know, how do I check that I entered in all the fields that I need to take care of? Well, we have a beautiful button at the top here, and that's called Verify Return. When I click on Verify Return, that is going to show me all the errors and warnings that I need to clear out in order to transmit the tax return. So you can see we have a bunch, you know, some on our 8879, our Schedule C, EIC checklist, and a bunch of my due diligence, right? That's mainly my prepare due diligence form. So let's showcase some of this. So first I do want to go to our 8879, and this is our e-file signature form. So this is noting how the taxpayer is receiving their refund for their tax return. So if they are getting their refund from the IRS directly via check or via direct deposit, then you can see here those are options 1 and 2. So 1 is a check from the IRS and 2 is a direct deposit from the IRS. So that means your taxpayer is paying you upfront in office your prep fees, and then the IRS is dispersing their refund to them. If you wanted to go via a refund transfer, you know, they're getting a loan from the bank or they want to get, you know, the cash up front, and then when they return funds, then they get the rest, anything through the bank, wanting the money the same day. That is called a refund transfer. And to note that, you would then enter a 5 in the red box here. By adding a 5, that would then add a bank application to the tax return. I can't add a bank app. Nobody can add a bank app today until we release our EFIN records, okay? So bank apps will become available towards the end of December, and that's when you can go ahead and take a look at them and prep them, you know, for a filing season. But I just wanted to note, for all those that are doing bank products, we enter a 5, and now we'll automatically add the bank application, and then that's where you note how the bank is just dispersing the refund to the taxpayer. Okay, so just this is your main decision. 5 is from the bank. 1 or 2 is the refund directly from the IRS. Okay, so here I'm just going to note, just for today, for completing a return, we're getting a check from the IRS. Okay, and you can see, since I had noted that 5, I'm removing my bank application. It's saying, it's giving that warning. You must collect your preparation fee directly from the taxpayer. Okay. And just a note here too, on our EFIN, okay, so very popular as we send in those EFIN records. You can always re-trigger your EFIN record by going ahead and clicking on your EFIN field, clicking the 3 dots and going to choices, and just clicking select on the EFIN, okay? That will refresh your EFIN record come January. I suggest doing that. So this way, then when you're ready to load in those bank applications, it will go ahead and take that update. Okay. The 8879, not difficult at all. All of this information should be automatically filled in if your office setup is done. So not much to enter here besides noting how the taxpayer is receiving their refund. Okay, once you do that, then I'll go ahead, I'm going to click back on our verify, and I'm going to go ahead and hit view and fix. And it's going to bring me to go ahead and correct those errors on my tax return. Okay, so am I aware my taxpayer is going to sign the 8879? I'm going to go ahead and hit view and fix for the next one. Did they participate in any virtual currency exchanges? Go ahead and I'm going to select no, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, if I'm going to go ahead and now hit on my Schedule C. Okay, qualified business indicator, go ahead and fill that out. Go ahead and choose my 8879. We're going to bypass that one. Signature date must be in processing year, right? So we're not in year 2024 yet. So let's go ahead and hit on my EIC checklist. Hit view and fix. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and read these EIC checklist questions and mark the one as applicable, yes or no. But you can note that when you are on your due diligence checklist, and let me close our verify real quick. So EIC checklist, right? This is the checklist you have to answer. We do auto-populate based on the data that you've entered. But if you take a look, we have the red fields, okay? I'm not saying the red fields are the correct fields, but the red fields are highlighting the questions you need to answer, okay? So you can take a look at that. So if I go ahead and showcase how prepare a due diligence, the 8867, I'll go ahead and click on that. And now I see a bunch of red boxes. Those are the questions I need to go ahead and answer. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly click through them, but you guys are going to definitely read the question, mark the ones that are applicable, right? And that's showcasing our due diligence. These are these verification questions you're asking the taxpayer. They're providing you their documentation, okay? Because even at the end of it, you are going to note which documents you reviewed. Right down here. Okay, I'm going to showcase list of documents for the EIC. You're going to note which one you looked at, school records or a healthcare, medical provider, anything like that. You can mark whichever one you noted. Okay, so business, I have a Schedule C. How did I see that they actually have a business? Okay, I looked at their business license. So this is your due diligence. You can add in notes, everything like that here, and you go through these questions. Okay, so when I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and click back on verify. Okay, I'm gonna see one choice may be selected. Okay, so their accounting method. Go ahead, hit verify. Okay, so when you go through the rest of verify, when you're finished with it, you can get a verify successful message, but I can't clear out a few of these just because we're not in the new year yet. But that is how you do use verify in order to see what areas or what fields you do need to enter in order to finalize your return. Once you do go ahead and get a verify successful message, your next steps would be to print, sign, and transmit. And if you take a look, I actually have those function keys all at the top here. It's one thing I really love about the toolbar of our online software. We are highlighting those main steps for you all at the top. So not a lot of memorization needs to happen. You know, okay, my next step, let me get my signatures. Let's click on signatures. Okay, final tax return. The final tax return will encompass the actual tax return and the bank documents, if bank documents are part of the return, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and click on sign. Now I'll go ahead and I can see I have a sign method. We have a drop-down menu. We have two options. We have capture signature or remote signature. Capture signature means that my taxpayer is physically next to me and they are going to sign electronically using either signature pad, on-screen signature, computer mouse, something. So I'm using a computer mouse right now, and I can go ahead and I can write in here something, okay? And hit accept. then that's going to load in the return and populate their signature in all the correlating areas. If they are not in office and you want to send a remote signature, you'll click on remote signature. You would then select via email or text message, okay, which method you want to send them. If you don't have any of the information captured, you can definitely just capture it right there. And you also have the ability to send a PDF copy to the preparer's email. So you can definitely do that as well. But this is now sending that remote signature if you've opted in to be part of that ancillary product offering to send remote signatures via text message or email. Again, we do that by clicking on the signatures tab, choosing remote signature, and then you can go ahead and do so. And when you do choose to send a remote signature, on our client data screen, all the way at the bottom, you're going to see some questions load in here. Okay, I don't have them yet because they haven't been released yet, but you will see some verification questions that go with remote signature that will then auto-populate. And you just have to mark that they are aware that they are signing their documents remotely. Okay, again, verification will bring you through all of that. Okay, so we just went over how to complete signatures. Once you're done with that, if you want to print your final tax return, you can by just going to the print menu, final tax return, and then you're going to go ahead and click print. At this moment, then you will be able to either download it as a PDF or send it via email to your taxpayer. Print packages are not released yet, so I can't formally click through it, but this is what it looks like. Okay, so I can hit print and it opens PDF and then it prints in your local machine. Or you can click email and it will email a copy straight to your taxpayer encrypted. Okay, encryption is important because that is sensitive data and we want to make sure that only the taxpayer is viewing that data. So that is how you finalize the return with the printing. And then the last step here is transmission. So transmitting a return and online is per return. So you'll click on transmit return. We'll hit next to just bypass that real quick. And this is what that window looks like. You'll go ahead and click transmit federal. If there's a state return, you'll click transmit state. If you're filing an extension once season opens, you'll hit transmit extension. If you're filing an amendment, you'll hit transmit amendment. So just pay attention as you add those amendment forms or the extension forms, which package you actually want to transmit. But it's simple, you just choose your options and then you hit transmit. And then it's going to lock the return, close you out of it, and it's now being sent off to the IRS. If you have preparers, your preparers can also be set with an access level called non-transmitting preparer. And if you do set them in an access level, then this transmit button will then say submit for review. And that is noting that you as the office owner or manager is going to go in and review those returns and transmit them. So we do have those capabilities as well if you want to limit who's transmitting in the office. Okay, so as we wrapped up our whole return flow, I wanted to now showcase a few of our other features that we have available within the software. So if you take a look on our navigation here, we have a document archive. This document archive is a filing cabinet per tax return. You can upload documents straight from the computer, or if you're in an office location and you have a scanner and they scan to a local drive, all you have to do is click add new documents and click browse. You can then browse to the pictures or whatever you have. If they emailed you your documents, you're going to upload them. So you can see here I have a 1099. I can go ahead and click open. I can say that form ties to the 1099. It's not populating a 1099. You do want to be specific. This is just uploading their documents so you can review them. And I can say 1099 for Uber and click add. Now I added that in here. I can preview it, right? I can open and I can look at that document and now I can complete it and verify the information. So that is one way your taxpayer and you can upload their documents. But let's say you have some taxpayers that are not close to the office, you know, or you need something immediately and they can't get into your office until later on. Well, the online software has a feature called request documents. When you request documents, you are sending a secure email to the taxpayer. So I already have my email on file, or I could click other email and I can type it in. So it is up, you know, whatever you have here on file. But you're emailing them just a quick little link here. You could say, please upload docs. Need income docs, okay? You can say what type for the taxpayer, or if there's a spouse, you know, who are you looking for here? And then what type, you know, giving them a label and hit request. Now we just sent off a secure link to your taxpayer for them to upload documents straight into the document archive. Okay, so this is going to be pending, and it will be pending until your taxpayer completes it. The taxpayer has about 3 days to upload documents, and then you can resend them a link because it does expire. And when they do go ahead, and if I just showcase, because I got the email already, so just give me one moment here. We'll take a look, and I will go ahead and show that I received that email. Okay, I'll go ahead and click upload documents, right? And this is what your taxpayer will go through. And when they go ahead and click upload documents, it's then going to bring them to verify their information. When they verify their information, it's just like remote signature if you're used to using CrossLink. They are verifying their data with their name, the last 4 of their social, and their zip code. So you at least need to make sure you have filled out the client data screen, so this way they can verify their information. Okay, and then once they go ahead and do so, they would then be able to upload their documents straight into the document archive. The last thing I wanted to go over is getting into TaxPass. So just to finalize our return flow before we switch gears is our client data screen was your taxpayer's information. You add forms by clicking the add form button. Your forms can auto-populate depending on the data that's entered, but you should definitely go through all those forms. Verify will show you any errors that you need to correct in order to transmit the return. Signatures, printing, and transmitting are your last steps to complete the tax return. And then if you are interested in where you enter your prep fees, you do have an invoice right here on the left-hand side, and that is where you can enter your prep fees or on the bank documents. And then that is how you complete your tax return flow within CrossLink. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save and close the return by hitting our down arrow. Okay, this is where you can see lock and unlock. You can send text messages, you receive text messages, and also save and close. So I'm going to go ahead and close my return now. And I did want to showcase what TaxPass is. So TaxPass is a custom URL that each office has. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that here. So this is a custom URL that will go ahead and go to that TaxPass site. So let me go ahead and put that in real quick. Okay, so here you will see that I'm at taxpassapp.com, and you can find your logo by just clicking on the profile menu and going to TaxPass URL. When you do come here, it is for your taxpayers. Your taxpayers will then click register, and they will be able to make an account. They're basically making an account on this site, and they will be able to fill in the client data screen, take pictures of their documents or upload documents, and then they submit it to your office. So they're essentially starting a return and submitting it to your office. You can see you can upload your own logo here. So we don't charge for TaxPass. You can upload your logo, so it'll be branded your business. And we actually, a new enhancement to it, it was available only for current year, but this year we allowed for the prior year or current year, so they can definitely do it for both if they need to. And then once they do submit their documents, they just click submit. And when you come back into the software, you would then get a notification on your tax returns tab that you have a return ready for import from TaxPass. Okay, so this is where you will get notified when those returns get submitted to your office. And if you take a look, we do have a down arrow that is located next to the new return button, and you can see the history of returns that have been imported from TaxPass. Okay, so that's just a quick overview. Again, it's for your taxpayers to submit or start the return and submit it to your office. And you can utilize that URL right here, and that's on your profile menu. So with that, we definitely went over a lot today. We went over the dashboard. We went over the quick flow of how to do a tax return within the online software, and then some of our paperless features such as requesting documents or using TaxPass.